Welcome to another episode. This is Kaizen Communications. We've been talking about different elements of digital marketing since last year. This year we wanted to focus on going deep down each element. And the first thing that we started with was coding, which is part of digital marketing. For those people who don't know what digital marketing is, it encompasses all elements of online or internet marketing, and a website or web applications are part of that. So last time, in the last episode, we talked about how to start coding for those people who are interested in coding. If you have your son, your daughter, or whoever, even you yourself who's starting your business, and probably you want to cut costs on development, on hiring a web developer and all that. We say we're going to go deep down coding. So we talked about how to start coding, and in this particular episode, we are going to talk about the tools that you need so that you can start your first program. We will use HTML and CSS in this particular tutorial. Then we'll go deep down into scripting languages such as PHP and how you can integrate that with your database, whether it's MySQL or any other database. So in a nutshell, what exactly do you need? For example, you want to start your first HTML project. What tools do you need to install in your machine? Remember, we are looking at open source tools. By open source, it means they are readily available. You can even develop them more. And also, we are looking at tools that are actually free of charge. You don't need to spend money. Remember, the whole concept of all these is to cut as much cost as possible for you, so that you can develop a program at the lowest fee possible, if at all there'll be. So we'll be looking at open source and free tools that we're going to use. And just to have a list of these particular tools, I'll just list them down. Then we can go deep down each of them and explain what they are. Now, the first tool you'll need, if you're starting, maybe you have your computer. I assume everybody has their own computer or working environment that they'll be using, a workstation, whichever computer. Just make sure it has the best resources for coding. And we'll be talking about resources later on when we'll be doing the installation. But the first tool you'll need is what we call a local server. And there are different local servers depending on which operating system you're using. So for those people who are using Windows, for example, you can install what we call XAMPP. XAMPP is XAMPP. You'll see it actually, we'll put that in the description section, and also in this particular video, you'll see the actual spelling. And we'll also put the link that you can actually download this particular tool. Now, XAMPP actually simulates a web server. Remember, when you're doing a web application, you'll be uploading it online. So you need a local server within your machine, especially if you don't have internet, so that it can simulate that particular server that will help you see how your website will look like. So this particular server will run PHP, it will run SQL, it has what we call Apache as a software. All those things we'll actually learn in detail because this is a detailed course. So this is just part of the introduction. Now, the second tool you will need will be an editor. Now, what is an editor? An editor is an environment where you'll be coding. So there are different editors depending on which language you want to use. I'm sure you've heard of Visual Studio. There are people who use Adobe, Dreamweaver. Like us, when we're in campus, we use Dreamweaver because at that time it was the best. If you're on terminal, if you're using Linux, you can use terminal, which is a shell where you can actually type your command line prompts and all that. Now, in this particular section, remember we talked about Windows. For those who are using Linux, you can download what we call LAMP, which is basically the local server for Linux operating systems. For Windows, you have XAMPP and you also have WAMP. XAMPP is XAMPP, WAMP is WAMP. So both of them are, whichever you choose, the end result will still be okay. The only difference will be the root folder where you store your files for the website and the web application. Now, the second tool, as I said, is you need that editor. Now, in this particular tutorial or guide, we'll be using two of them. Number one will be Notepad++. Remember, there's Notepad, which I'm sure most of the people have interacted with. And then there is Notepad++. Now, this is the best working environment, especially if you're coding and you're starting maybe your journey to coding. I would advise that you download Notepad++. Now, for those people who actually want to look like they're geeks, there is another one called SUBLIME or SUBLIME. It's a text editor that depicts a black screen. I'm sure you've seen those videos where they actually showcase hackers and all that with some black screen and some codes, going through the screen. So what editor kind of shows all that is what we call Sublime, and there are others also. The terminal also has the same black screen where just the code can run through. So in Windows, you can use Sublime or Sublime, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So those are two. We'll put the link and also in the description, and also within this particular tutorial, you'll be able to know how to download it. The other thing you need to know is where you store your folders when you're developing. Now, if you installed XAMPP, for example, or WAMP, let's start with XAMPP. If you install XAMPP, you'll be storing your folder under, you'll be storing your web files under a folder called htdocs. When you install in XAMPP, automatically htdocs will be created under your computer's C drive. So you go see the XAMPP folder, then there'll be htdocs. So whatever files you're developing for your web applications project, you'll be able to store under htdocs for this thing to work. For those people using WAMP, there is one we call, you go under C, var, www, all that will go through when we're starting to develop. But for purposes of this particular tutorial, we'll be using XAMPP. So just take note of that we'll be storing all our files under htdocs. Of course, the last thing that you'll need would be your browser, because it's through your browser that you'll be able to view what you'll be coding. Personally, I prefer Google Chrome. There are people who prefer Mozilla Firefox. But if you're a developer, it's always good to install all browsers, because there's what we call browser compatibility when you're developing. So purposefully, as a developer, I use Google Chrome when developing, but I still have other browsers like Mozilla, Safari, and all those browsers that exist, to be able to see how that particular web application will actually be viewed based on all these different browsers, so that we can maintain some sort of browser compatibility. So in a nutshell, those are the 4 things that you will need to know when starting out. In the next episode, we'll be talking about, actually we'll start the actual coding process in this particular program. As I said, we will use HTML first as the interface language. HTML basically means hypertext markup language. We'll start with that. From there, we'll go to what we call cascading style sheets, or CSS, that will be able to actually give some sort of a design feeling to your project. From there, we'll go to what we call scripting languages, which is basically PHP for this particular example. Then from there, we'll see how to store data that has been saved in your web application in a database. And for purposes of this tutorial, we will use MySQL. So in a nutshell, put your seatbelts on. In the next episode, we're going to start that. So I think we are easy. Be ready for the next episode. And wherever you are, this is February. We've started a great month. I hope you guys are good. Our numbers are for those people who need detailed tutorial or detailed training on how to code using so many languages. There is also Python. We have different programming languages depending on your interest that we talked about last time. So for those people who want to contact us, you can contact us via 0797 333 251. That is 0797 333 251. We are based at Unique Per Building, 4th floor, suite number 45. We are always available for all your inquiries, and whatever you need to ask from us, we'll be able to help. Otherwise, see you in the next episode.